Hello everyone, this is Dracog175, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Civilization Beyond Earth, Rising Tide. Um, so I was looking, I know it's been a while since I uploaded. I want to apologize for that. A lot of stuff has been going on. So I was looking over my last video because it's been a while. And I was thinking to myself, I was about to get into affinities. Affinities, there are... Okay, so if you click on this button here, it brings up this graph. There are three affinities in the game. Purity, supremacy, and harmony. Affinities are basically... They're ideologies that your civilization can follow. And they're extreme ideologies. It's not just, you know, democracy or anything like that. It will physically change the people of your nation to fit whatever ideology you're going down. Your cities will look different. Your military units will look different. I'm going to get to that in just a bit. I know I just kind of sped through that turn, but I already explained what I was doing beforehand. So, when it comes to units composition and stuff like that. Um, but it changes everything. So, what what are the ideologies of the three affinities? Well, purity is the first one I'm going to talk about. Purity is this red one over here. Basically, what purity is they turn the ideologies of old Earth into almost a religion, right? They idolize where old Earth, which is where the colonies that are colonizing this planet came from. They came from Earth. They idolize old Earth as almost a religion. Old Earth seeps into their culture, it seeps into their military, it seeps into their religion, it seeps into everything. They're also very big, and this is important because this is what differentiates them between the other two affinities. They're also very big on not using genetic modification or technological augmentation on their people. They'll use gene therapy to solve problems that you might have, but they won't use it to change humanity. This is a departure from harmony. Harmony, the short end of it is harmony idolizes the new planet that you're on. We haven't met any yet. Well, you've probably seen a few of them down there. Let me show you. Right over here on the last turn, if you pay attention, you might have seen like an alien beetle. Not a beetle, a wolf beetle. The aliens in this world are very resilient to damage, and the new world is just fascinating to people of Harmony. And if you go down Harmony, what you're essentially doing is you're using genetic modification to change humanity to be more like the aliens and to fit the planet that they're on. This comes with a lot of bonuses that I probably won't be talking about in this playthrough. I'll mention them every now and then. But because it looks like we're going down purity, and I'll explain why in a second, um, I'm probably not going to talk as much about the other affinities. But that's harmony. And then supremacy doesn't look to the old world or the new world, but they look to human ingenuity and technology to help them survive the new planet. Literally, in supremacy, they use technology and technological augmentations to make themselves better. You see how it has levels in each of these? That's supremacy, that's purity, and that's harmony. When you upgrade each level, right, of one of the affinities, you get a quote. The end game quote for supremacy is, "This version of humanity is no longer supported." Supremacy, the ultimate goal of supremacy is literally to turn your people into robots, right? They're all about, like, uploading your consciousness to computers and and like plugging yourself into the matrix for a little bit. They basically are all about their ultimate excuse me. Their ultimate goal is to turn people into robots. Harmony is all about turning people into aliens, basically. And purity is all about keeping humanity the way it is. The reason why we're probably going to be going down purity is because of this, the float stone. So there are 3 kind of strategic resources at the beginning of the game that you can see. You see them up here: Xenomass, Floatstone, and Phyrexite. These correspond to harmony, purity, and supremacy, respectively. You want to go down the affinity that it looks like you have the most strategic resources of around you. That isn't to say you shouldn't get the other strategic resources, but it looks like I have the most Floatstone around me, so I'm going to be going down purity. I'm not going to lie, purity is not my favorite one. I actually dislike purity quite a bit. Not because of how they play, they're actually, some would argue, they're overpowered. But because of how because of their ideology. I find their ideology extremely boring. So, yeah. In terms of, like, my favorite aesthetically is harmony, but my favorite to play as is supremacy. And that's mainly because of supremacy's military units. But like I said, I'll try not to moan too much about that, and we'll just keep going. These are virtues. These are virtues. So, if you look up here, you'll see it says 16 out of 12 in order to get a new virtue. Virtues are basically, they're a way to show how your colony is growing culturally, right? They're virtues, right? They're a way to customize how your colony acts and how the people think. The culture, when you get enough culture, you can pick one of these bonuses. It works like a skill tree. So when you pick one of the bonuses, you have to pick the one above the bonus in order to go down the tree. Now, you can pick any 4 of these, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, you're probably only going to be able to go down 2 of them in any given game, right? And that's if you want to go down them, which is a good idea because of these kickers, right? Synergy bonuses. The more you get in each tree, the more kickers you'll get for synergy bonuses, and the more you'll be able to do with those, right? So, like, might, the synergy bonus is plus 5% for strength and range for all units. It's, again, the same thing for the second one, and then the third one, that probably won't matter by the time you get there, but hey. So, you have 4 trees: might, prosperity, knowledge, and industry, and each one of these focus on different things. Might focuses on your military, prosperity focuses on food, expansion, and health, which I'll get into when it becomes important. Knowledge focuses on getting you more science and more culture so that you can pick up more virtues. And industry focuses on trade routes and money. And production, right? Like right here, plus 2 production for every manufacturing improvement. So which one am I going to pick? I'm going to pick up knowledge. Because I just like having the ability to get science faster and to get more cultures down the tree. I'm going to be going down this route to gun for cohesive values. Excuse me, so that I can get more virtues faster. And next turn. I hope I explained that well. I feel like I'm not explaining it very well, but I hope you kind of got the gist of that without me needing to talk on and on about it, you know? So, as you can kind of notice, we're speeding through turns a little bit. That's because, well, I mean, there's no reason for it. I just know what I'm doing, so I'm able to speed through turns quickly. If you'll notice, I've been building the beds on these eggs a lot. That's because I'm gonna be working the eggs mostly, so I want to be able to build improvements that actually give me something. Now, you'll notice that whenever I click on an explorer, it'll show these expeditions. I mentioned this in the first episode, but I mentioned it and then I said that I would explain later why I'm not picking them up right now. The reason is because I'm waiting for me to get this field research, earn 20 science from finishing expeditions. This will just allow me to get my science faster, right? To get all my technologies faster. I'm going to be depending on that to boost me through early game science. Here's another goodie pod and 60 energy. I'm not going to look a gifted horse in the mouth, but that's not a good one. That's kind of the weakest one, honestly. And here's an alien. It's an alien sea dragon. That means that there's a nest around here because the game hasn't been going on for long enough for the aliens to have moved very far. Alright, just picked up field research, so now we're going to start getting those expeditions. I need to be a little careful how I do this, though. Okay, this expedition... Expeditions are basically upgraded goodie huts. They're upgraded goodie pods, right? You'll get better rewards for them, but it takes an explorer to construct an expedition, right? And it takes 4 turns. For this one specifically, there are other ones that might take longer. It takes 4 turns to construct it. So I click this button. And, cool graphic. I click this button and he starts exploring the expedition. It'll take 4 turns for me to get the reward that I'm going to be getting out of it. It's for me to get the reward that I'm going to get out of it. But the rewards that come out of it are usually bigger rewards than what you would get out of goodie pods. Now, if you'll notice, I'm spamming out explorers like you'd never believe. This is because I need to explore around me. I explained this a little bit at the beginning, in the first episode, but I need to explore what's around me so that I know where to put my cities for future use. This is one of the AIs in the game. Now, how the AI spawns in this game versus other Civ games is there's staggered spawns. So they won't all spawn at the same time, but when they do spawn, you'll know where they are, but you won't know who they are. I think I've explained this already. I have. Oh, jeez. Okay. Next turn. In case you haven't noticed, I'm trying to go by a little faster because I noticed that at the beginning I was just not...
They're 4 billion-year-old world's worth of resources, shared among a handful of people. We're gonna make a fortune here.
So I just got chemistry. And I didn't finish the expedition. Perfect. So, I'm going to go for ecology next, mainly for the vivarium, but also because it allows me to clear miasma. Now, what's miasma? Well, if you look on this land tile right over here, you'll see it's full of green junk. That's called miasma. If a unit ends a turn in miasma, they take 10 points of health damage. Every unit in the game has 100 points of health. Clearing this out is really important if you're playing as anyone but Purity, or excuse me, Harmony. If you're going down Harmony, Harmony units can breathe miasma just fine. So you don't need to clear it if you're going down Harmony. But I'm going down Purity, so I need to clear it. So that's the other reason why I want to get Ecology. The ultrasonic fence is important. But it's only important for how it quests. It's not important. It's not, the building itself isn't that important. 80 production. All right. That was particularly good. But the more important thing is, you'll notice I jumped up in research. I was at 14 turns in order to get Ecology. I passed a turn, so that brings me down to 13. But that expedition, me doing that expedition just meant that I got down to 9 turns. And, well, that's because of field research. This virtue that I got right over here. Earn 20 science for finishing expeditions. Do nothing for this turn. I'm going to see if I can get onto that tile next turn. Alright, earned another virtue, so we're going to get laboratory apprenticeship. Each city tile generates 0.25 science for every population. So basically how this works is, if you have a tile that's being worked by a pop, you'll generate 0.25 science. It's not very much because, 0.75 science, right? I would need another pop in order to get 1 science. But every little bit helps towards your next goal. Now, you'll notice that I completed that expedition and it gave me plus 80 production. That means that I would have gotten that. That means that I just got that explorer in 1 turn instead of the 3 I believe it would have taken me. Now, the thing that you have to keep in mind about this is production does carry over. So, like, let's say, for example, I was making 12 production per turn, and I want to build this recycler, which takes 50 production. Well, 12 times 5 is 60. The 10 extra production once I finish the recycler will carry over to the next thing I'm building. So why is the recycler so cheap for me to build? Because I already have some production left over from the 80 production I got from the... from the expedition. So it's much cheaper to build a recycler. Why am I building a recycler? I said it in the past episode. Production is king, right? You need to be able to build things quickly. So building the things that you need is important. So I'm getting production as my next, as I'm prioritizing production, basically. Next turn. But yeah, I absolutely adore this game, but it does have its flaws, and one of them I'll actually get into since this is apparently the affinity episode. So, when the game first released, you'll notice that they have these bonuses for what they call hybrid affinities. When the game first released, it didn't have these, but they added them in the expansion pack Rising Tide. This is one of the biggest problems, in my opinion, with the game. Because what they should have done is they should have expanded the affinities that they already had to make them do different things. But they didn't. Instead, they added hybrid affinities to make them... to try and add more affinities to the game. But it just dilutes the affinities that you already have. In my opinion, the hybrid affinities were a mistake. They should have focused down the affinities that they wanted, that they already had, and made them more unique. Because, okay, you'd think that if you're going down supremacy, you'd think that your population would start using energy as maintenance instead of food. because they're turning themselves into robots. But no, they don't. They keep maintaining themselves with food, right? And it just, they could have done something as simple as that change would have been 30 times better for this game, because it would have made the end game cities that you're building, it would have made them more diverse, right? Like purity, it would have meant that supremacy wasn't going to build itself the same way that harmony was. Just got 15 research out of that goodie pod. Let me do something right quick. If you hold shift and then click on a research, it'll add that research to the queue. So I'm still researching ecology, it'll just go straight to pioneering afterwards. Usually that's not a good idea to do, because you want to pick up technologies as you need them as you need them. But the thing is I have 56 science already put into this, and I need 77 to research it. Science, unless you have something queued up, does not work like production does. If you go over the cap of science, then the science that you... Okay, I have 56 science right now. If that expedition finishes, I'm going to have 76 science. Then the +6 science that I have right now, +5, excuse me, will roll over into pioneering. If I didn't pick pioneering to be researched, it wouldn't roll over. It would just go to waste. I hope that made sense. If it didn't, leave a comment and I'll try to explain it better as I'm going on. But the basic point is you want to, if you're going to get a huge boost in science like I'm going to off of this expedition, you want to queue up another research that you're going to need, so that the science that you would earn from that expedition doesn't go to waste. It rolls over into the next science. And next turn. But yeah, I was talking about the hybrid affinities. The hybrid affinities, in my opinion, are a big mistake. They are a gigantic mistake. This game should not have done the hybrid affinities. What it should have done instead is made each affinity even more specialized than what it was before. Because each affinity does get a specialized building. Well, actually, no. Only supremacy gets a specialized building, which is just stupid. They should have made the affinities each more unique from each other instead of blending them together with each other. The hybrid affinities also have another downside, but I'll explain that downside much later as I go into the game. Quest decision. So, each building that you build in the game has a quest that's associated with it. And that quest will basically give you this wall of text, which I'll read in a second, and then we'll give you 2 options that you can pick to improve the building. So, I believe this is for the warehouse. No, this is the recycler. The excess construction material and requisite temporary structures used in the construction of the new recycler are now, thanks to the recycler, prime candidates for recycling. We've received various requests for the resulting materials and need to establish precedents. Workers claim the materials will improve their operations, while the agricultural sector would like to use it as fertilizer. Between these two, +1 food for recyclers is the better option. It is flat out the better option. But I always pick supply workers because I want my workers to be, faster. By delivering the recycled goods to our workers, we are seeing a boost to their operational speed. This doesn't seem like a lot, but it shaves off a turn from the later on improvements that you're going to need to build. Now, you might be asking to yourself, why did I move that explorer back to the city? It's because of these expedition modules. The expedition modules, you can only build expeditions if you have the expedition module. If you have an expedition module to be able to build the expedition. If you don't, then you can't build an expedition even if you find one. The only way to refill a unit's expedition modules is to put it back into the main portion of the city. You can't, it can't just be in your borders. You have to drop it off in the city. Hey, another production boost. But... and another AI dropping down. But... this one was a quest for cultural burden. I don't want to move him yet because I want to see what I'm going to do for this. Okay. We have located the signal's origin. A probe belonging to the Cestus group crashed in a swamp of xenomass. The Cestus group never reached our new planet, and their status remains a mystery. Recovering the probe may provide answers to their ultimate fate. However, doing so will likely contaminate the xenomass, making the rare material unfit for use. Leaving the probe undisturbed will protect the potentially valuable resource. If you don't risk contamination, you're going down harmony. If you recover the probe and the xenomass doesn't matter, you're going down purity and supremacy. I want to go down purity, so I'm going to recover the probe. The xenomass doesn't matter. If you don't risk contamination, this spawns a thing of xenomass in the area. Actually, looking at it, I could... no, I already picked purity. Okay. We'll do purity. Alright. Should we? Yes. Yes, we'll do purity. Now we need to drain the xenomass like at the crash site. This is why I said not to move him, because only military units can do this. So you can just do this straight away. Get the quest decision. Our expedition has managed to save the probe, though at the cost of the xenomass. An examination of the probe shows it contains both a cultural log and technical log of the Cestus group's time in the space. Unfortunately, the probe has been damaged in such a way that recovering one will likely result in losing the other. Because I want to go down purity, I want to save the records. It only gave me 4 purity, that's honestly not worth it. But for a beginning quest in the game, it's fair enough. Oh my god, this alien is not going to move. I'm going to have to, yeah, just fortify. Build an expedition. Now, you saw that expedition took 7 turns. Right? Expeditions can take longer or shorter. I just got another virtue. I want to get cohesive values so that my next virtues are cheaper. Right? I mean, I shouldn't need to explain that one. That one makes perfect sense. Next turn. This explorer can go in this direction. Mr. Worker, you can go out into the... oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have sent him over to build a farm. Man, I'm not thinking. What is everybody working? Yep, the most food. That's what I want you to do. Alright. Well... 30 minutes of me waffling away have already passed. Let's pick up this artifact. Ugh. The goodie pod gave me energy. But it also gave me an artifact. I believe that's the first artifact we've gotten. Yes, it is. I'm going to have to explain artifacts in the next episode because we are out of time for this one. So... I still don't have an outro. I should really work on making one of those. Well, this is Dracog175. Please comment. Honestly, I'm looking for comments right now because I just want to know if I'm doing an okay job. You know, I mean, this is my second ever video I've posted. I'm not expecting to be doing amazingly, but I want to know if I'm doing okay at least. So comment down below, please. Just let me know how I'm doing. And thank you for watching me all the way through. Peace out.